Hey there guys, welcome to Therapy and Knots. This is our first ever video. Okay, maybe it's not. I think I've already done another. This might be our second video. Anyways, today we're going to talk about all things yarn. So we're going to talk about what are options that you get in the store, what's really good for a beginner, and the yarn that I love. All right, stay tuned. You're thinking that you might want to do crocheting. And you're like, where do I start? And you go to the craft store, or you go to Walmart, or you go to Myers, or you go to Amazon, and you see all of these options for yarn. And it almost can be like a little bit overbearing or a little bit overwhelming to say, okay, well, here's the first tip I can give you right out of the gate. When you're first starting out as a crocheter, you need to just go find the cheap stuff. Don't spend your money on that expensive yarn. Just go get the cheap stuff. So one of the things that I have been able to find is yarn that you can get for under $5. So everything that is sitting here, each one of these, is under $5. That's the first thing. The second thing, we're going to talk about the different types of yarns and what recommendations I would give for a new person deciding if they want to do crocheting. This right here is probably the most common yarn that you're going to see out there. It's kind of skinny. So let's talk about the label that comes with it. So first, this is called a skein, S-K-E-I-N. I think that's how you spell it. I will put that on here for you. So this is how our yarn is going to come. This particular brand is Red Heart. This is a common one that you will find at Walmart. And again, you can usually get this for a couple of bucks, which is great for a beginner project. Very thin yarn though. So if you look at your label here, let me bring it up here. I'll make it a little bit easier. You're going to see a couple of things. Hopefully this will put it in the right area that you can see it. You're going to see what the weight of the yarn is, what their recommendations for a hook to use. And then also this right here is a cool little chart that we're going to talk about. So yarn can actually come out two different ways, right? So they spin this so that you end up with an end point. It's usually, here, let me get it how it usually looks. It's like we're cheating here. All right, so this is how your yarn usually comes. On one end, you're going to see a piece of yarn that is tucked into the end. That is one way that you can start your projects, but I find that it's kind of hard and your yarn flops all around when you're trying to do your project. But instead, what you want to do is get that yarn that is actually in the center so that when you pull it out, this stays put. So there's a couple ways to know about that. First off, if you have the chart on it, it's going to tell you exactly which way you want to go. But the other piece of it is if you're like, okay, mine doesn't have that fancy chart, how do I know? One end is always going to have it tucked in. So what I do is I pull that out first and I wind it around my yarn. And then the other side, I'm just going to kind of stick some fingers down in here. And I always think it's like, you know, like the turkey when you're trying to get out like the inner parts. That's kind of what you're doing with your yarn. Anyways, you're going to come in here and I just kind of, and sometimes a big old chunk comes out. Don't be afraid of it. But you're going to pull out, and I know some of the people that do crocheting are like, we're all beginners. It's okay. So that big old chunk came out, no big deal. I'm still going to sit and look for my center part. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. Maybe not with this one. I'll get another one. Okay, we're back. This is going to go much better. Okay, so this one, again, the label itself is not going to tell me which side is the yarn. So the first thing I do is I go and look for the tail. It's what I call, it's just the end. So here it is. I pull it out because it's usually tucked right here in the center. I just pull it out and wind it around. And then I head over to the other side, pinch your fingers, go down in here into the center until you can find the end. And I think we're going to get lucky on this one. Hold on. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ah, there it is. So now, see how nice that is? I think I've said the word so 400 times. So, okay. So anyways, that's our yarn. But again, the nice thing about this is when you pull, you don't have this going everywhere versus when you have this thing is literally going to flop all around as you pull your yarn. So that's first. So let's talk a little bit about yarn. We talked about this hot mess that I've already created. Don't you worry. We can still make a great product with this. It's going to be great. This is very thin yarn. This takes a little bit longer. So on this channel, we're really going to talk about quick projects that we can do. Kind of goal is that we can do under an hour, at least under a day. So if we're thinking about doing something like a little bit bigger of a project, This yarn is great to use, but it's going to be a very small loop. So obviously it's going to take more to kind of do that. And then you're going to see this yarn in the store and you're going to think, oh my goodness, that is beautiful and I want my hands on this. I agree with you, but as a beginner, this is probably one of the toughest, the more fuzzier that you get yarns to learn how to do your stitches. So what I'm gonna say is just let that sit on the shelf for just a little bit longer until you get familiar with your crochet stitches. Okay, so let's move on. These two are my absolute favorite yarns that you can use for quick projects, and they are excellent for someone who is learning how to crochet. The first brand, this Bernard's. It comes in all kinds of different colors, but you can see that this is what they call bulky or chunky, whatever. It makes really big stitches or really big loops, and you can kind of see what you're doing. So highly recommend this. This brand right here, Lion brand, don't tell anybody, but this might be my favorite because it's super soft. So this specific one is the Lion brand Hometown USA. And I get this specifically from Myers. So if you have a Myers nearby, I highly recommend you go check them out. They have very good pricing on their yarn, but you can also get it on Amazon, you can get it online, you get it at Hobby Lobby. I'll put a link on here down in the description. So if you want to read a little bit more about it, just the Amazon description so you can see, and then go check out your craft store, or if you're like, girl, I'm Amazon Prime, just order it and have it shipped to your house. So this is your different options for yarn. Just remember, everything comes in lots and lots of colors. I would say as a beginner, I would probably stick with a solid color instead of one that's multicolored. Sometimes that can be a little harder when you're first starting out. But I say go hog wild, go buy some. Have yarn literally all over this house. Probably different, like 20 bags and shelves and any place else that I can hide this. So that is it for this first video. Our next video, we are going to learn how in the world do we hold a hook. I mean, like, what is a crochet hook and how are we supposed to hold it? So that's coming next. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and go be awesome today. Bye, guys.